Hello, everyone. This is Leimomi Keliikuli, Intuitive Soul Alignment Coach here, and I'm here with Monique Alvarez. And I'm so excited to talk with her just because she's just an awesome like action taker, and she really goes, in the right direction in a very quick and precise way, and also because we've had like so many like good interactions with each other and helping each other, getting to your next level. So why don't we start with like you telling more about us, about who you are and what you do, and how did you really become like a master genius at what you do? Like what got you to that place?
Well, first off, thank you so much for having me. And I'm Monique Alvarez. I own Monique Alvarez Enterprises, and essentially what I do is I help women become business women through extremely practical, strategic, step-by-step, action, implementation, support, accountability. It's sort of that nitty-gritty, maybe often is thought of as mundane, but it gets results.
Awesome. And I know you really love traveling and you love like getting people to their next level, but in a more strategic way, which is so cool because it's part of your soul's path and your soul's purpose. And so what was your perspective, in your perspective, a genius, like why is it important to know such things, like in order to create the life of success?
Well, when I met you a year ago and you did my blueprints and you did a reading with me, the best thing it did was confirm the things I felt, the things that I hoped, the things that I believed, the things that kept popping up over and over. But I needed that confirmation, that affirmation, because when you go through a tough time or when your soul's path is not necessarily conventional, right? The first thing you told me was, you must travel. And right in that moment, I was bumping up against these people who were saying, you shouldn't be traveling. You cannot have a business and travel. You can't have a family and travel. You can't, blah, 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 right? And so it just shut all of that down. It was just like, boom, in that moment, I could shut all that off and I could just focus on who I knew I was. And nothing's more powerful than that, because when you have multiple voices, when you feel this and you feel persuaded to do that, you don't move forward. And you helped me never second guess myself again. And the power of that, what has happened in a year, it really blows my mind. But that was the key, is I had to once and for all say, no, this is who I am to my core, and I'm going to honor it.
Exactly. Because, your soul already has all the answers. Like you already know exactly who you are, what you need. But because we have so much outside influences telling us, a certain way you're supposed to be, a certain standard, we kind of listen to it. And then we realize like we went way, way out of the wrong direction. And that's kind of pretty much what happened to you, right? It got you really
it was like, when we had our appointment, it was like I was off in the bar ditch. I was off in the woods, like in the weeds, because I allowed myself and it doesn't take long, I would say I had a good 2-3 months before I met you where I really started listening to the wrong voices, and everything goes sideways. That's the thing I learned, not just the business, but every relationship, everything gets thrown off kilter. My health, it's just total chaos and confusion when you're not living according to who you are and you're trying to make compromises with what's acceptable.
Exactly. Totally, 100% is, the core message of what we want to talk about in terms of our genius. Like we really, really need to be who we are, what we're meant to do. And when we stand firmly in that, then our impact is just limitless.
Absolutely. And what I learned, you said you're a power soul, Monique. And what I learned is that I could not wobble and be fully in my power soul. I had to say 100%, this is who I am, this is the direction I'm going. There's no apologies for it. There's no discussion. There's no call the committee and let's vote on it. And the second I could do that, it was like women who never could see or hear me before suddenly just came out of the woodwork because they recognized that I was walking in who I am as a power soul. And so that was empowering them to do the same thing and to stop sort of watering down and mixing their message to make everyone happy.
Exactly. So when you were growing up, like as a child, what kind of lit you up? Like, how does that play into what you have become today?
Oh gosh. Well, what lit me up, the two biggest things that I can think about that it instantly came to my mind when you said that is I loved National Geographic. I would look through it nonstop. My grandma got me a subscription to it. And I mean, I was there. I really, when I would turn the page, I could feel myself in that spot. Like I knew what was going on there. And I would tell myself, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go here. And the second thing that lit me up was to lead. I mean, I always just assumed that position. I was always, running the show in the neighborhood or, telling everyone what to do at school. And I felt comfortable leading and being the first to go,
Mm-hmm. Totally. And that's so cool because it's totally your sole purpose. Like you're meant to lead, you're meant to help people go beyond, where they've never gone before and like exploring unknown territory and how important it is to go after you want.
Yes, absolutely. I see it now so much. It's about when I see a client of mine doing things that she didn't even have on her mind 6 months or a year ago. It's like, yes, like it feels so good. I know that I've done my work, and nothing beats that. And also I'm unwilling to teach where I haven't been, where I don't model it. And I know that that's so necessary. My clients, I push them, but they know that I am walking it as well.
Exactly. And that's what a leader is about, being authentic, being the person that goes first, but in the most authentic way, showing the ropes, what you haven't done and what you have and why things work and, testing the waters before your clients come in and drown, like thinking ahead of what it is that your clients need so that you are always like on point.
Absolutely. I could say, don't step over there. I already did. And that's not a good path, but this is really good, and it's about the bigger concepts, I don't try to say you must do what I did. It's more like, don't step over here and listen to too many voices and go over here where you listen to your intuition. It's more like that, because what I find is women who fall in business, who fall into like, take every step that expert said, well, they're actually not learning to trust themselves. They're not learning to follow their inner guidance. And like you said, we hold all the answers. And so I think that developing that muscle is so key.
Mm-hmm, totally. So tell us a vulnerable story, something in your life or your business. Like what did it feel like to be misaligned, and like how did that like get you pushed into your soul alignment? Because that's when we met, right?
Yes. So I moved my family to Mexico, and the last couple months before we moved, I had one online mastermind and I had two local. And I could feel the local group just really not on board with this move, right? And the mistake I made, the misalignment I did, is I didn't face it head on. I just was hoping if I ignore this, they'll adapt and they'll adjust and it will all live happily ever after. And that's not what happened. I got to Mexico and almost immediately it just blew up in my face. And it was because I was unwilling to speak my truth. I was unwilling to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, and I would love for you to come along, but if you can't support me, then I wish you the best and let's part ways now. I didn't do that. So then I was left, you know, devastated because this was a group I had been loyal to, and I didn't feel that loyalty back. So I was feeling personally hurt. Then I started second guessing, right? And then I have set up these streams of income so I can travel, and then I go travel and they dry up and disappear. And so it was just like, it was a really like, ugh, oh shit moment, you know, like, is this all going to unravel? And that's when I met you. And so then when you just said, no, like, follow this, listen to this, this is who you are. Then I had hope that I could rebuild it and more. And so misalignment, it's that sick feeling in your gut. Like, you know you're on the wrong path. You know you're getting colder and colder, but you're just ignoring it, you know? And for me, alignment, it feels so easy. It feels like, yes, this is what I was born to do. And nothing can stop it. It's like the whole universe is pushing you along. It's this feeling like you're so in sync that nothing else matters. And it truly doesn't, because you're operating in this very magical place. And while you might have to still grow in areas, there's nothing that can't happen when you're in alignment like that. It's just that sweet spot and things will click. You know, you find your way, your people find you, you get that idea, you talk about the idea and people show up. It's just boom, boom, boom.
Exactly. I like how you described each part of the misalignment and the alignment, because that's exactly what happens as you go on the wrong path. You end up in the ditch, in the bushes, in places that you never thought like would ever exist. And people are throwing shit at you. And then you go on the right path, you're like, oh, it's like fairies and like gnomes looking out at you. And then like everybody's like putting a crown in your head. And you're like, wow, what did I do to deserve all of this cool stuff, you know?
It's so true. It's so true, because at one point my husband told me, this is amazing. The same thing that made all of those people mad at you when we left is the same reason all these people hired you this year, you know? And it was like, that's the difference, you know? And truthfully, I had about 7-10 people over here in misalignment, right? And I've worked with over 150 women this year who are like, yes. So there's really no comparison between the two, you know? It's a whole different ballgame.
Exactly. And one of the biggest things for your soul was that you were creating a offline business model with having the local stuff, which was very draining, and it was very the opposite of alignment for your soul. When you needed to be online and talking to like hundreds of women instead of 20 local women, your impact is so much bigger when you're aligning to the right way your business model should look like.
So true. That was a huge component. You know, I actually had a leadership call with my leadership team just before we met. And that's one thing I told them. I said, I didn't work in my other 2 pregnancies, and I'm working now. And it doesn't feel hard. It almost feels like, oh, I'll be doing this till the moment I deliver. And I said, but you know what the difference is that I have this space. I have an online business versus an offline business. And it didn't occur to me until you told me that, how draining it was for me to work in person. I mean, it was like daily the life was sucked out of me. And now when I work online, I feel energized.
Yeah, totally. And the funny thing is, some souls are meant to be more offline, like my soul actually. And I have an online business and it's very draining for me. So I'm switching my way back into offline, and then creating the online business was more passive for me. But it's really about like where your soul wants to show up and where you thrive the best. So when you really make, your business in alignment to your soul, like everything just opens up, right? Like people, places, things just like flow the way that it's supposed to, rather than you go and chasing it, right? Like that's the difference.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what would be like your 3 must-do steps, like to get back into alignment, to find that like, that empowered space that you always tell your woman to do?
Well, one of the things that I tell my clients to do is to, instead of doing more and trying harder, go the opposite way. Do less and relax for a minute. Because I think when you're trying too hard, you're not in alignment, and you're going to hurt yourself, right? You're going to end up in a real bad spot. And that's usually feels, they even pause because it's counterculture, really. We believe in trying harder and working more hours and spinning those wheels more, and something will come of it. And so I tell them, for now, pause, do less so that you can get quiet and listen. And the second thing I notice with clients is that they're listening to like way too many voices. I mean, they come to me and they've got, 14 coaches and 4 psychics and a spiritual this and a side that. And I'm like, let's pare this down. And, for a little bit, let's see how long you can go without asking someone else's opinion of something, that you can just trust yourself with a decision, with an idea, and run with it. I don't even want you to run everything by me. I just want you to get out of that habit, because it's saying how you feel about yourself, and you don't want to feed that. It's saying you can't trust yourself, that you don't know best. And I would say the third thing is that I teach is, when you do work, like carve out real business hours. And when you work, you focus, you get productive, you shut everything else down. You're not making lunch. You're not calling your mother-in-law back. You're not running errands. You're working and you're focusing on money-making activities. And then when you're done, you're done. Like create a real definition of your workspace so that you can get a feel for what it's like to zero in and do the things that matter in your business, and then go enjoy your family, go travel, go eat, go take a nap, go for a walk, because I'm all about the lifestyle. I don't necessarily have just a specific income goal or a destination title goal. I want a good, rich life. And I find that my clients, that's what they really want to.
Yes, exactly. Exactly, like allowing yourself to do that. And that's, to me, like that's liberation. Like that's choosing from a place of like, this is what I want, what I need. And I need to liberate my soul. I need to create the means and the places and the things that's most aligned for me so I can operate my best and to feel good throughout that whole process. And that's really like a lifestyle change. And like when you're working in your 9 to 5, like you don't have that chance, But as an entrepreneur, you can say like, I want to just go take a nap right now and I want to go play with my kids for like 2 hours, But then I still work like 3 hours and I made $10,000, Just having the ability to just say, this is how I want to operate is so important. It's an important process of what I consider really being in soul alignment, for sure. So when you feel like giving up, like what like really keeps you going? Like what's your like process to get back on your feet when you feel like, oh my God, like what the hell did I just get myself into?
Well, I can give you an example that happened this morning. So I've got a 2 and a 3-year-old and I'm 17 weeks pregnant. And my 3-year-old has been waking up at 3 a.m. like every morning for 7 days. And today just was the one that pushed me over my edge. It was like, I can't do this. This is crazy. I can't function. I can't feel good like this. And so what I did is I called up our nanny and I said, can you take the boys and go play with them? Because I knew I needed space to get quiet. I have to meditate. And if I have to nap first. So I took a nap, I meditated, and I just said, what's happening here? Sometimes I just ask one good question. What am I not seeing What do I need to tune into? What am I missing? What do I need to be aware of? And it was like, boom, right there, I heard it. Your thoughts are waking up your son. Of course, right? Because my kids are always a reflection of me. They mirror my emotions. They mirror me. And then I was like, okay, then where are my thoughts? Why am I feeling a little restless? Why I'm not in this deep sleep? And I'm ready to move to the place where I'm going to give birth. I want to move to the capital city. We've been here at the beach all summer, and it's been a lot of fun. But I'm sensing a new season. I'm sensing, in this pregnancy stage, like it's time to get to the place and settle and nest and know this is where I am for the rest of the pregnancy and where I'll give birth. And as soon as I told my husband, and the boys come home, and I told the boys what we're going to do, and peace just was in this entire house, and I could feel myself and of course, guess what? The boys were calm and happy. So my process is tune into myself, ask for guidance. And then when I hear something, I do it. Boom, I make a decision.
Yeah, because that was really based upon what you needed, right? Like you needed that space and time to be like, okay, what is going on? What do I need? And then when you ask that deeper questions, then you ask, well, what do I really want it to look like for myself and my family? And when you got clear about that, it's like, yeah, I want to be peaceful. I want to be grounded. I want to be ready for this pregnancy. I want to, like, although I want, right? Like started to appear. And then your family is like, okay, mama says we're going to go here. And this is what we're doing.
Exactly. My husband's relieved. The kids are relieved,
And that's what's so cool about Power Souls is that, like, when you get really, really clear and concise and like to the point, and you get the clarity, like, bam, everything just happens, right? But when you don't have clarity, and you're like, what the hell did I get myself into? What am I supposed to be doing here? I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. I don't know what I want. And just because I goes in this spiral, right?
Yeah, it's like all this muddy water, and you feel like you're sinking in it. And you're so right. Because I told my husband, and then I got in line, and I said, okay, I need a team. I went to the expats in Albania group, and I found a real estate agent. I found, a couple moms with toddlers. I found where the preschools were. And it just all came together literally in less than an hour. Just boom, 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 boom.
Right. Totally. You got everything that you needed to get to where you're supposed to go. Instead of struggling with the fact that you have like no idea, right? You focus on what was in front of you.
Absolutely. It's like, I know already, I've learned that if I just, I'm tired, I don't know what to do, I can't figure it out. If I do that, I'll get nowhere. And then the whole house just becomes this very heavy spot. And then the kids will be misbehaving. Everything will start to go sideways. Oh, then the internet slows down. Like, I'm telling you, everything will go sideways. So I've learned, don't do that. Don't go down that way. Just ask for help. Start with one thought and then go from there in the right direction.
Yes. And that's what's funny with alignment. It's like when you're not in alignment, then chaos, like in your relationships and money, like everything goes wrong. But when you are in alignment, your relationships is just so awesome. They're supportive. They're there. Money comes in, opportunities coming in. So it's really about like choosing like the path that, that's the best for your soul purpose, rather than doing your life challenges and things that are not like totally aligned for you. You just keep getting back in the path. Like when you're not in alignment, you get back in the path, and the path that has the least resistance, that makes sense for you and your family. And then that impacts like everybody else that you're a part of. Right. So how do you,
everybody.
Right. So how do you define success? Like what kind of pain did you have to like endure to where you're now, like to realize what success means to you?
Well, I traveled in my 20s, and I got married, and my husband and I started a business, and I always knew I wanted to travel. It was very hard for me to go back and live the American lifestyle. And so success for me was getting to travel full time, like always traveling as much as I want, staying wherever I want, as long as I want. That was always my definition of success. But when I got to that 5 years ago, my husband and I moved to Albania. We were doing that. I was tested. I had this opportunity to go back into that American typical way. I had an opportunity come to me, and I said yes to it. And so I essentially, walked in the desert for a good 3 years after that decision, because I needed to, honestly, I needed to feel how off it is for me to live in the United States and have a house and 2 cars and a garage and a dog and all that stuff. I had to feel the absolute gut-wrenching discomfort of going against myself in order for me to be doing what I am now. We're 16, 17 months into full-time travel. And now anyone could put anything in front of me, any amount of money, any opportunity, any idea, anything. And it's like, no, I've got my golden nugget. This is, my riches right here. But I had to go down that path to figure it out, to know, sometimes it's the contrast that teaches us the most.
Exactly. And especially when you're going on your path and you're seeing your soul purpose and you're seeing the direction that you want to go, and then you start going down it, you just kind of question it, right? You're like, am I really supposed to do this way? Because it's so damn easy. Like, why should I, like that? When you question it, the reason is because you really needed that contrast about, yeah, that is exactly the way.
It's so true, because what happened 5 years ago when I was living my dream? I was like 34 years old, right? I'm living in Albania. We go to the beach every day. We're just working a few hours a day. And I was getting slammed with people saying, who do you think you are? You don't deserve this. You can't just have this lifestyle at your age. You didn't put in your dues. You did. And so then all of a sudden it was like, well, I can't, so maybe I missed something, or I let all of that get to me. And now when people say it just slides right off. It's just like, yeah, okay, whatever. It literally has no effect on me, because it's just like, I'm doing my thing. And that's all that matters.
Exactly. And I have the same kind of approach with how I think too, but mine is the opposite. Mine is like, sit, be in my sacred space, be peaceful. Like, that's just so important to my soul's growth, So this is why you have to really realign to your particular path and your soul purpose and your superpower, because when you really, really own it, like your lifestyle is really different from my lifestyle. And we thrive from the way that we're meant to be, right? Like, I used to travel my ass off and went everywhere every 6 months, and I felt horrible inside. And I kept thinking, maybe I have to love this lifestyle, but then I hated it to the core. And then now I'm like, I just want to live in the most beautiful place and be more grounded, create community around people who I, really love. And it's so different. So, having the ability to see your right path and your soul purpose and keep going in the right direction, you have to honor the way your soul was designed first. And then everything will open up so you can operate at your best is just phenomenal, right? To be this is the way I'm meant to be.
It feels so good. It's like, it's like a vase is created to hold water and flowers. It's shaped a certain way. And it's like when you're living according to your soul's blueprints and all of that, it's like you feel like a vessel like that, like exactly what I was designed in every way to be and do. I'm fulfilling. It's like there's nothing that feels awkward or off. And it's so funny, because I got to the place now when people hire me, I tell them, do you have your soul blueprints? Have you done those with Leimomi? Because if you have, I want to read them, because like you said, I want to make sure what I'm telling them to do in business lines up with that, because that's all that matters. If you get that, and you're good.
Yeah, because the path is just clear. Like you're not gonna question yourself so much. And it's funny is because it's the thing, it's like the roadmap to your soul. So like whenever you get confused, you can come back to it and be like, yeah, this is the way I'm designed. This is why that's so important to me. And choosing to liberate myself from that place, like, is so key, right? And if you don't have it, you're questioning every single thing every moment. But you can make the right choices. You can go on the right path. You can know when you're not in the right alignment, right? Because you're like, duh, this is why chaos is happening. This is why this is not making sense. And you go back to your blueprint. You're like, yeah, see, I made the wrong choice to my blueprints right here. And then you have to like redo it again.
Yeah, it's true. Like I recently had this client. She kept trying to work online, and the work you did for her said offline, and I was like, no, get offline. Like go offline. Here's some things you can do. And it felt scary because she had tried so hard to have an online business, right? And had invested all this money into it. And so I think a part of her felt like she had to really try harder at it, because I've already learned so much and invested so much in that direction. And I'm going to tell you, Leimomi, I told her, you're going to read your blueprints every day, and you're going to stay offline and do offline. And I mean, it was a matter of weeks, and over $10,000 came into her life. And it was like, she wrote me, yes, keep me offline, you know?
It's so funny because that's exactly what happens. It goes from zero crickets, nobody understand what the hell you're talking about. And then you just do that one thing and you've got like 100 clients like knocking at your door. And you're like, I don't even know how to handle this capacity, right? Because I thought it was only going to be two. And then I launched this thing that was just so aligned to me. And I've got like too many people now. I'm like, what do I do?
Yes.
Whether it's money or clients, some form of abundance is just so amazing when you just say, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. And because it's two different lifestyles and business models when you do it online or offline, and people don't realize how different it is. You have different strategies, different tactics that when you operate in that world, like at your best, like amazing opportunities can happen. But when you try to like split yourself in two different worlds like that, like you never really get the results. You get half results or nothing at all.
It's true. It's true. And then after a while, that just becomes so frustrating. And then women lose their self-confidence in that, because they're like, well, the last thing didn't work, and so I don't have a lot of confidence that the next thing will work. And so it's just a real bad tailspin.
Exactly. So what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into their genius, like as you have? Like what helped you decide to do the work that you love and then create this like really, really good soul aligned life path, right, in business and truly become an expert in your industry? Like what advice would you give to someone who's like at that level now?
I think that there were two big points of motivation for me after I talked to you. Number one, I knew that the person who suffered the most was me when I was out of alignment, when I wasn't living fully as I could. I knew that I was paying the price in my spirit, in my body, in my mind. And I, for one, am very committed to making sure that I live this life with what I intended when I came here. When I jumped into this adventure, I know I had something in mind. And I don't want to get to the end of my life and have this sense, this nagging sense that I missed it. So that was the first motivation. That's what helped me even deal with, the non-supporters, the neutral supporters, the silent people who went silent on me. And the second point of real inspiration is I said, my kids are watching everything I do. And I could never tell them to follow who they really are if I don't do it. If I don't live that out in front of them day by day, then there's a good chance that they're going to do what society tells them, or that they're going to feel this pull to, reach for success milestones that don't mean anything to them because they think it matters to me or to people who are important in their lives. And so I just said, this is part of what I signed up for as a mother, is that I've got to be true to myself. Otherwise, anything I tell them, anything I try to teach them, they will know that it's coming from someone who isn't walking her talk. And I don't want to do that. I do not want to be a hypocrite as a mother.
Yeah, that is like your underlying why under why, right? Like when you really, really are really true to the core of your values. And I think that's why we operate in our life and business we should always operate from that rather than what we think we're supposed to be as a mother, as we think it's supposed to look when we're successful, what we think our, path's supposed to look like in a certain way, in a certain fashion with the house and kids. And, like all of that doesn't matter. What really matters is like you choosing, here's what my values are and how I'm going to operate from this space. And when you're really clear about that, like, yeah, always everything just fits, right? Makes sense. And the more you're clear about that, the more like people will respond because they know that like you're being authentic, you're being a real leader, you're being a real mother, like in whatever role you are, right? And if you don't have these key values set up for yourself, you're going to always run yourself down, burn yourself out. You're going to hit the wrong nerve on people and they're going to like throw shit at you, you name it, right? Because you're not staying clear to the core of who you are. And that's your why, right? Your dark why, your light why, your why you do everything that you do in your entire life. And I think that's where your genius comes from, because like everything from that place, it's coming from your soul. It's coming from your unique energy of your soul, your superpower. And that's where your expertise starts to shine, I believe. Like you're operating from a place of alignment that feels good, that's right for you and your audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like a domino effect,
Yeah.
it's all connected.
So is there anything last you want to share with us before we go? Definitely, we want everybody to get in touch with Monique because she's an awesome, awesome coach, and she helps so many women to get out of the rut and really take strategic action that makes sense, that's aligned to what the way that they want to show up.
I think the biggest thing I just want to say is I find that so many women have settled for things that is, it's basically just less than their wildest dream. At some point, they were tempted or convinced or whatever, strong-armed into giving up those really wild ideas. And I just want to encourage women to return to that, to return to their truest self, to their wild self, to their almost like that 5-year-old self knowing, because there's plenty of people who tell you can't make it happen, but there is always a way to make it happen when it's who you are and what you came here to do. And I know for me, I live an unconventional life and I have an unconventional business and unconventional ways. And yet I knew in some deep part of me, like, I can be married and have a family and kids and travel full time and have a business. And I'm so glad that I didn't let anyone talk me out of it. And I'm so glad that I did my blueprints with you. And that's what I would say is find your wildest dreams and then get your blueprint done and just read that thing until it soaks in, until it clicks, and nothing can stop you.
It's a beautiful message. That makes me want to cry because that is exactly like what the true message of being aligned to your soul is about. Going for your dreams, being exactly who you're meant to be. and saying that this is how I want to show up, this is who I want to be, this is like ultimately the lifestyle business that I'm going to create because it's me. It's true to me. It's what I'm meant to be. No one should ever have to question me ever. And I never should question myself, right? And have this self-trust and utilize your intuition along the way. And when you've got the blueprints, use it until it makes sense, until it's ingrained inside of you. You're like, duh, like, why was I doing the opposite of that the whole entire time? Like, it just makes more sense and more sense. And when it becomes a part of you, like, you don't question anymore. You just go. You just something comes in front of you that's not aligned to me. Okay, no. That's something that's aligned to me. Okay, go that way. You know, it's really about choosing the right path and keep going on the right path until you find it.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. So definitely you wanted to get in touch with Monique, go to her website. Let me say your website so people know.
Okay. Yes, you can visit MoniqueAlvarezEnterprises.com. And I'd love for you to check out my website. I have a Facebook group also. It's Success Redefined, because that's what I want to cultivate, a community where women can be big thinkers and wild dreamers and have it all, whatever that means for you.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. And this is just like the best episode ever because it got to the core of like what our true message is all about, and bringing that into light. And so yeah, until next time, we'll have our Mastering Your Soul's Gifts interview series. I'll see you until then. Right. Have a beautiful day. Aloha.